Hey everyone, yeah, welcome back. Good to see you again. You're looking well. Get yourself a seat up front and get a drink. We're going to get started. Because, yes, there's a show. It's all been happening and now you want to know. But before we can start, we must begin with hello. My name is Sean, your host and fellow. Now grab hold your beverage, your mind just as quick. We're building up for our best sip. So join me now for the greatest pleasure, where we unwind this world together. It's time now. It's time for the sip. Let's do it now. Let's do it quick. Go! Yes, exactly what I needed. Well, a man named Matthew Pancake. Okay, we can just leave it right there. He went on a chaotic early morning crime spree in the Hilliard area of Columbus. Around 3 to 4 a.m., he broke into several businesses at the Hilliard Station shopping centre. At Petland, he smashed his way in, ransacked the place, and released dozens of animals from their cages. Birds, dogs, rabbits, ferrets, gerbils, all running loose inside the store. Chaos ensued with animals everywhere. He stole some items from the other stores, including shoes and liquor, and then apparently got tired. Police later found him sleeping outside a nearby Big Lot store, still wearing his leopard print onesies. Body cam footage captured officers showed them searching Mr. Pancake and reacting with pure disbelief. "There's a gerbil!" Officers discovered several live gerbils, or small hamsters, hidden in his pants and pockets, along with bedding material. The little rodents were unharmed and safely returned to the pet store. Pancake was treated for minor injuries, probably from breaking glass, before being booked. I know what Mr. Pancake should have said to the officers. Armageddon! Armageddon is a bit of internet lore from back in the day. Well worth looking up and listening to the clip, but I won't go into too much detail about it here. Meanwhile, the IPCC admits apocalyptic climate scenarios are implausible, meaning most media scare stories over the last 15 years are officially junk. Activist climate scientists, journalists, and net zero obsessed politicians are in shock following an official admission from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, that a set of key assumptions promoting a climate crisis since 2011 are implausible. The notorious set of always improbable RCP 8.5 pathway assumptions, which fed into computer models trying to measure an unmeasurable climate, are no more. Since around 2011, these business as usual assumptions have produced outlandish claims of future climate catastrophe, which have been lapped up by lapdog journalists and politicians. The influential writer Roger Peelk Jr. called RCP 8.5's demise the most significant development in climate research in decades. Well, as Scott Adams would often say, wait until I tell you about climate models. And also, all data is fake. Any system, that has, or any system at all really has inputs and outputs, and then a bit in between that does the figuring out. And here, inputs are one of the main problems. So not only have you got these key assumptions being going in, even things like temperature can be incredibly difficult to measure. Temperature is one of the first things that we've been able to measure, and that's only been measured for about 150 years officially, there's a methodology behind it. The technology changed quite a lot since then, and there's been a lot of variations along the way. But the sensors themselves require some calibration and adjustment every once in a while just to make sure they stay accurate. And most of the times, they would probably not, that action would not be done, especially not on scale and with temperature sensors being laid out all around, basically spread out quite far. They require regular maintenance to be accurate. The other thing is that any gap in the numbers, so if a station goes down or if there's a missing bit of cover in an area, then data has to be extracted or extrapolated, and that basically means that someone types in a number, often within a boundary or within certain criteria, but it's not a measurement. It's not actually something that is calculated, or it is calculated, but it's not something that is observed. And the models themselves are not nearly sophisticated enough to cover all the different conditions that would be affecting weather, especially long term. Models are just people's best educated guesses, really. There's no real consensus on which is the best models either. Everyone has their own takes, and there's over 100 of them officially recognised at the moment. And none of them there's not really any proof that they work because they're they're stretching out over such a long period of time. The only time you're going to find out is when our grandkids get to measure and look back and say, oh yeah, that model was the best. Just think about the current weather models. They can barely predict 24 hours ahead, and weather and climate models are different. Climate's trying to do long term, and weather's trying to do tomorrow or this week. But even the current weather models can't predict more than 24 hours in advance, accurately enough. It's just gives you a good, the thing with weather as well is that you also have a good starting point. The climate models, we're trying to look back and estimate and historically gather what that was. There are some core samples and things that have been taken which allow people to kind of get an idea about what the climate was like, but it's still extrapolated and there's not really, it's still based on projections and theory. It's not a measurement. Well, yeah, it's still an extrapolation of a measurement there. The other problem is that outputs are manipulated for political narratives. Anyone with a green agenda simply wouldn't accept a model that has an outcome that things were getting better because it makes it harder to funnel cash to those initiatives. And that's not science, it's gaming the system for profit. Countries start to base policies on these things, though, and the UK, for example, hasn't really invested in legacy or traditional energy infrastructure. And in fact, much of Europe hasn't. They've all gone for the green initiative. Germany shut down all of their nuclear plants. I think they decommissioned the last one 2 years ago now. And it's all been wind, solar, and just green, all the green initiatives. I think gas is still reasonably common, but Europe is very dependent on other countries for that. So it doesn't give them any autonomy. So that's also not to mention the other ridiculous things that are being claimed that have been caused through climate change. Things like divorce rates and crime and obesity, decline in polar bear numbers, frog shrinkage, beer shortages, sriracha shortages, and even more baseball home runs because of air density. It's almost like they're trying to get you scared for some reason. This large nebulous problem that can only be solved by someone trying to sell you something. That is a theme. Panic creates reasons for people to take action, most likely because someone is waiting with a solution to sell you. No, that's not to say that climate change doesn't happen. Nature doesn't stand still. It changes all the time. It's probably there's probably nothing in the universe that changes more than nature. But all these imaginary problems are bullshit. Man made the bullshit to sell you something. Meanwhile, the FBI has reportedly launched a criminal probe into Fauci's bat virus mad scientist Vincent Munster for smuggling deadly pathogen samples from Africa. The Gateway Pundit reports. I picked up these two stories from Owen Gregorian on X. So the FBI has reportedly launched a criminal investigation into the NIH virologist Vincent Munster, one of Anthony Fauci's top bat coronavirus researchers at the high-security Rocky Mountain Labs in Hamilton, Montana, after he and a colleague were caught smuggling dangerous pathogen samples. The samples Munster and his colleagues were caught with included monkeypox virus from the Democratic Republic of Congo. According to an exclusive report from Paul Thacker, Munster and the NIH lab scientists Claude Kweyenda were stopped during an airport security screening upon their return from Africa earlier this year. The NIH were an institution that was associated with Fauci at the time. I don't think he ever ran it, but he was offered the position many times. And they were also part of the link to EcoHealth Alliance. which are responsible for they're apparently responsible for the coronavirus research that led to the pandemic. According to the report, authorities discovered a hard-shell protective case in their luggage containing undeclared human pathogen samples collected from patients. Monkeypox virus is classified by the Department of Health and Human Sciences as a select agent that poses a severe threat to public safety and requires strict permitting, inactivation, and shipping protocols. Neither scientist has confirmed whether the samples were properly inactivated. So that tells me it's probably more than likely to be active, because if they were inert, they would have just said so. HHS has referred all questions about the case to the FBI, which is actively investigating. Thacker reports that when he contacted the FBI about the investigation into Munster and his NIH researcher, the FBI press office replied to by email, "We decline to comment." So you should speak to the FBI about that, but the FBI isn't going to say anything, which is not unusual because it is an active investigation after all. Whether it'll go anywhere, we shall see. The report adds, shortly after the COVID virus began infecting Americans, Columbian University virologist Vincent Racianello sent Munster an alarming February 2020 email saying he heard that the new COVID virus had a furin cleavage site that might have been engineered. If true, this is very bad for all of virology research, Racianello wrote to Munster. "And the fun begins," replied Munster. Both Munster and Yinda have been placed on admin leave and their contact information has been scrubbed from official HHS employee directory. It's a pretty quick turnaround for someone not guilty. On April 28th, the DOJ indicted David Morenz, Fauci's longtime senior advisor at NIAID, on multiple felony counts of allegedly using his personal Gmail account to conceal official emails and evade Freedom of Information Act requests about risky coronavirus research grants to EcoHealth and others. Why would you need to send email to your personal Gmail account to conceal your discussions? Now, it's kind of odd, isn't it? The only reason I can possibly think of is that you want to be hiding corruption. There were reports of phones being destroyed and erased before handing over to the FBI, and why would you need to do that as well? The only possible reason could be corruption. Yeah, so I don't know about you, but the lockdowns and the coronavirus pandemic is not that long ago still. We were all forced into our homes and food and other essentials became pretty scarce overnight. It was a really scary time. We all just became conditioned to staying at home after that, and it also became conditioned to avoiding each other. They keep the distance, keep separated. Make sure you wear a mask. Make sure you take along some alcohol gel with you as well. There's so many things that we all gave up because of that. Not to mention the massive disruption it imposed. All the work that people lost, businesses, families that weren't together. I was living in a small apartment at the time, and it just so happened to be the hottest summer on record. And my mum also passed away during COVID, and I had to decide on who could attend the funeral. It's just crazy. It's all because these guys were trying to do something that they shouldn't have been doing behind everybody's back. There's not been nearly enough coverage for this and interest after the pandemic. None of those none of those people organising protests and all the other funding that goes to these bullshit organisations, none of them are trying to get this sorted out, are they? The No Kings protests, are they trying to get to the bottom of this? It's just bullshit. Just so much of it is fabricated. It's just like the climate models. Now, Fauci is a week away from the statute of limitations, but it seems pretty fanciful that we're going to see any kind of investigation launched or for any of it, really, even though it's probably one of the biggest crimes against humanity we've possibly ever seen. So, I wish I could leave it more positive than that, but unfortunately, these things need to be looked at. But that does bring me to the end of my notes, and that just leaves me to say, Go out and explore things. Those things around you change all the time. Go out and see what they are. Go investigate and go check it out. You may even find something that you like, and you may even find out something interesting. And with that, I will wish you well and say, see you later. Cheers.